Hey friend, do you want to offer meaningful learning solutions that create behavior change, fit in the flow of work, and yield real results for your nonprofit? If yes, this is the podcast for you. Join me as I explore instructional design and leadership development best practices, as well as change management, belonging, and influence. If we haven't met yet, I'm Heather, and I've been in your shoes. I'm a learning and development consultant and founder of Skill Masters Market. Before starting my business, I led learning and leadership development initiatives for a large national nonprofit. I know what it's like to need to develop your staff quickly and effectively and to build the relationships and cut through the organizational layers to be successful. And I'm bringing all of that to you in this podcast. So block your calendar, turn off your Teams or Slack chat, and let's dive in. It's learning for good. Happy 2025, friend. To kick off the new year, I thought it would be fun to reflect on my 20-ish year career in L&D. And I honestly thought this would be a fun, easy episode to produce that would still provide a lot of value and would be great for the beginning of the year. I was wrong, at least on part of that. This was not an easy episode to write. How can I summarize what I've learned across 20 years? I know I'm going to forget something important, but I still think it's worth it. I often get asked how people can transition into L&D. What are the skills or experiences that they're going to need? Should they go back to school and get a degree in this stuff? I feel strongly you don't need a formal education in adult learning to be a good instructional designer. But I do think instructional designers have to be open to learning new things. And so today, I'll do my best to share 3 of the most valuable things I've learned in my career. Let's dive in. It's learning for good. I'm about 20 years into my career. I started as an assistant editor in a curriculum team, creating training for first responders. And not too long into that role, I realized they were looking for people to learn about adult learning theory and enhance their existing curriculum. I was interested in how people learn. I was a curious person, but I was also interested in growing my career, so I raised my hand. And that decision set me into a career path focused on adult learning. Now, fast forward. About 12 years ago, I landed at a national nonprofit. It was more collaborative than I had ever experienced, and it was a highly functioning, highly productive team. I began learning more about change management and human-centered design and other areas that informed the way I worked. After about 8 years there, I launched Skill Masters Market, my L&D consulting business for nonprofits and associations. And for the past 4 years, almost 5 years, I've been working with nonprofits all over the country on their training and leadership development needs. I create functional training, leadership training, and leadership competencies to inform competency-based learning strategies. I like to give these 2 examples to show the breadth of my work. So I worked with one nonprofit to create training for doulas and midwives. The organization found that the postpartum death rate was too high, and they felt their audience of doulas and midwives could help. The training was focused on something the doulas and midwives could do in their jobs to encourage their clients, the postpartum women, to seek medical care, and in doing so, potentially save lives. I have a great podcast episode case study about this training, and I'll link to that in the show notes. But this is a great example of functional training. This was relevant to their job, relevant to their role, and allows them to do their job better and make a huge impact in the process. On the other side of that spectrum, I've been working with a nonprofit to create a global leadership development program. It's focused on systems thinking and other key skills for the future of their organization. The focus is very much on their leadership and how they can evolve to meet the needs of the future. So that gives you a sense of the type of work I do. With that in mind, I want to share 3 things I find essential in my work. Do you wish you could connect with other nonprofit learning and development leaders? I know what it feels like to want someone to bounce ideas off of and to learn from, someone who really understands you and your work. Imagine if you could have a simple way to meet people in the field, ask questions, and share information. That's why I created the Nonprofit Learning and Development Collective, where nonprofit L&D, talent management, and DEI leaders can connect with each other quickly and easily in a virtual space. When you join this community, you will walk away with a new, diverse, and powerful network and a sounding board for your staff development needs. So if you're ready to exchange ideas and collaborate with your peers, come join the Nonprofit L&D Collective. First, it's all about the people. When I think about L&D, call it whatever you want. Call it training, call it learning, call it instructional design, call it anything really, performance enablement. It all comes down to the people. It's the people you work with. It's the people you work for. It's the people you create any sort of learning for. So build those relationships. We want to build relationships with our subject matter experts, with the people who are in our intended audience for learning, with key partners in the organization. And to do that, we have to really commit to listening actively. We have to learn to ask powerful questions and facilitate great conversations. Also, we can understand and get to know what those needs are and how we can best meet those needs. But it also continues in the learning process. We have to figure out ways that we can create connection among the people, among our audience. We have to figure out a way that we can be inclusive so that people are ready and willing to open up, to trust, and to build relationships among each other. And we have to make sure that what we do is accessible. Because if people can't access it, if they can't learn in the way that it's being provided, then it's not about the people. It has to work for the people. So that's my first kind of learning through this process. When I started thinking about adult learning, I don't know that I was this focused on the people. But now, 20 years later, I see that it's all about the people. The second recommendation I would have is to focus on behavior. There are a lot of things in life that it's great to know, things that we need to know, but we also have access to Google and ChatGPT and so many other ways of gaining information. And so when we're working on learning, when we're thinking about performance, when we're thinking about making an impact, it's important to focus on behavior. Now, that's not an easy task. We're complex people. We don't like to change our behavior, even if that behavior is a good thing. And we see this with people who struggle to quit a bad habit. They want to, but it's hard to make that change. We see that with people who struggle to create a good habit. They want to, but it's hard to make that change. We're complex. So take the time to learn about human behavior, think about how the brain works, and really learn how change happens, both at the individual and the organizational level. Because anything we create in L&D, almost anything, I like to say anything, but almost anything, I'm sure there's an exception, almost anything we create in L&D is a change project. It's intended to change something. So focus on behavior and learn things you need to learn to be able to create that behavior change. Now, my third recommendation is to have a growth mindset. And there's a lot to unpack with having a growth mindset. One of the things that I like to do when I'm starting a project is to start with the end in mind and figure out what success looks like and aim for that. Now, where the growth mindset comes in is I always want to learn new techniques to achieve those outcomes. And I want to learn from things outside of L&D. I want to learn from human-centered design. I want to learn from agile processes. I want to learn from the gaming industry. I want to learn from the cartoons that my kids watch. There are so many places that we can learn from that impact how we approach L&D. So I want to learn new techniques, and I want to learn from outside of L&D. Now, it doesn't stop there because all of those new techniques will not work. So we have to, again, having that growth mindset, we have to be willing to test things and iterate until we get it right. And that's a process that requires us to never stop learning, to never stop trying, and to be okay with failure from time to time. And when we're committed to trying things and testing things and learning from those things, what you can learn is incredible. So we never want to stop learning, and we always want to have that growth mindset. Now, I'm sure there are a million other recommendations that other L&D folks could share with you, and many of their recommendations might even be better than mine. There are tons of degree programs and academies and podcasts and blogs and all kinds of resources to help people navigate their L&D career. So in the vein of what I just shared, never stop learning, I want you to go ask other people what they have learned in their career, what advice they would give someone new. Or if you've been in L&D for a while, what is it that you would share? And if it's different than what I've shared, I would love to hear that. I want to learn from you and from others. So go ahead, feel free, send me a message on LinkedIn, and let's start a conversation. When we learn from each other, we all benefit. I'll see you next time on Learning for Good. Hey friend, was this episode helpful for you? Did you like what you heard? Do you want more content like this? Here are 3 things you can do. Hit subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast app of choice, share this episode with a colleague. This means so much to me personally. I read every review, but it also helps me learn what content you like most so I can create more of what you want. All right, turn that Teams or Slack chat back on when you're ready, and I'll see you next time on Learning for Good.